would like to share with you some of the trends, some of the best practices, some of the insightful discussions, panelists that will be joining us throughout the session. And please do share your experience throughout the session. So getting started, a little bit about me, a quick intro. I'm Sudiptaa Choudhury, the Chief Marketing Officer at Choudhury. I have overall 20 years of experience in marketing. And a little bit about me, if you will. I had worked with different companies, both small, medium, and also the large enterprises, from Oracle, HP, EMC, Tally, Ericsson, Intuit, and OpenLM. I also had my own entrepreneurial journey, opening up a digital marketing firm, and was helping few of the biggies and also startups from different expertise, tech, fintech, health tech, telecom, retail, and e-commerce. I had received, thanks to the universe, my gratitude towards it had been awarded various times on various occasions between 2021 to 2023 as a top 250 global marketeers or top 10 marketing leaders. I am by profession, I did my engineering in computer science, and then I did my MBA in marketing. I was also an IIM Calcutta alumnus, one of the top 100 universities globally. I really enjoy talking to various industry forums, and my expertise when it comes to marketing goes into market research, marketing, content writing, planning, overall digital marketing, brand, PR, and also working with different cross-functional teams across the globe. Some of my core values, I believe that giving back to the society is very important, and I am also a passionate writer and a blogger. And I believe that the diversity, equity, and inclusion are very important, along with the empathetic leadership. And so here I am, and do feel to ask any questions that you have during the session, make it more engaging. I will now move to the next slide just to look at the agenda that we have. So we are having firstly the introduction, and then we have Camilla Ramberg, CEO of Cool Props, who will talk about her experience about Shorter Loop. And we have exciting keynote session by Mayank Gandhi. He's the Principal Product Strategy Director at Oracle. He will talk more about what SaaS companies must do to drive product-led growth. And we will then have more session on the continuous product discovery backed by AI. And you will also hear this from our CEO, Kinshuk Kale. And then we will have the panel discussion where the interesting topic is how we can stop 95% of the products that fail every year, where we have two speakers, Shubha Brata, Paul Choudhury from Savink, and Mayank Gandhi coming up again from Oracle. We will then move on to some best practices, if you will. So it's very important that when we are working hybrid and also offline, how we as product teams being truly agile and customer-centric, what are those key best practices that we really want to know or would like to really deploy in our everyday product life. So we will have two ladies, Archana Kamlakar, technology evangelist and author, and also IIM Calcutta and ISB alumnus, and Camilla Ramberg, the CEO of Cool Props. We will then have Wes Bush session. He's the CEO of Product Led, and he has been kind enough to record a session for Shorter Loop alone, a very remote workshop on product-led growth, a must to follow for SaaS companies to achieve success or moving to the next version of success. And then we will have a quick wrap up. In between the session, you will find various quizzes and also the polls that we'll be running to understand your overall thinking, your overall feedback on the product management, and what do you think AI as one of the trend and why AI and why not AI. Would love to hear from you. And just a quick thing that it's a Shorter Loop is a web-based platform, and we are completely compliant with GDPR and other countries' data security and the privacy policies. So don't sweat. We are following this strictly. Moving to the next session, uh, some of these housekeeping rules for all of us. So thank you so much for being a lovely audience today. And we really mean that, while you are going through this presentation, you can definitely copy any part of the presentation, make it totally yours, post it on your LinkedIn, your YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, any of these channels. Do use these hashtags like Shorter Loop event, product management, AI products, or AI product management or innovation, as you like. As and when you have questions, please use the Zoom chat, and we are currently live on both uh, LinkedIn and also on YouTube. So please do ask your questions there. It would be good to see you. So do turn on your camera, and it would be really good to hear your voice as well. So please unmute yourself and raise the question by using your laptop speaker or whichever the device. If it is from mobile, please go ahead and ask the question. And there are some exciting prizes as it comes, like being the most engaged audience, as you will share and interact with us on various questions, polls, and also some impromptu thoughts that you have. And we would really want to make this as engaged as possible. And it's our promise to you that we will definitely announce the winner, the most engaged audience, after the event sometime this week. So do watch us on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. We will announce the winner, and there is a special prize to the winner as well. So guys, I am really excited to interact with all of you. Let's get into the next one. So just to start with the introduction about Shorter Loop, right? So what is Shorter Loop? We really believe empowering the product teams globally and also the business owners, helping them to create products that disrupt, deliver, and create delight for the customers. And we also believe that the product has to be modern, the product has to be relevant, the product has to do all the talking with the customers continuously, and also having the modern technologies backed up. So let's get to know Shorter Loop here. So you will find us on the many platforms like G2, Product Hunt, Capterra, also Sourceforce. We are one of the leaders in the product management space, and also on the Software Select. Shorter Loop is for any company of any sizes, whether it's a startup, you are starting with your new venture and you have an idea, but you don't know whether this idea will click or not. So we are here to help you. You can use the tool. And for a solopreneur, the tool is totally free, and even for the student. And for a small team of startup or a small medium businesses and the enterprises, we have various price plans. You can look at our website, shorterloop.com, and go to pricing page and know about that. And if you have any questions, do let us know. We believe ensuring all the modern product management practices, right from learning, ideating, collaborating, strategizing, defining, designing, and finally, build, launch, measure, and learn, everything under one platform. So that's about Shorter Loop. And we really believe while doing this, giving the main value that you will see, being smarter in your collaboration and communication by 3x efficiency increase while cutting down your entire product management cost by 40 to 50%. And the tool is powered by design thinking, generative AI, SaaS, and agile. And we are also coming up with some extra features. So please do check the different tutorials that we have on YouTube and Shorter Loop as and when we are posting it on our different social media platforms, so that you learn and also start using the tool from today. Moving on, Here is the key problem that we are solving. As you can see, it needs not to be in a sequence. It could be agile, it could be disruptive, it can start from anywhere. Whether you have an existing product, you want to be better at it, so you go listen to your customer, you get more feedback. Based on that, you can strategize which feedback to take, and based on that, you design, you plan, you do your roadmap, finally build, and continuously measure after you have launched it. If you are a new uh, product that you are really ideating, and you really want to do the product market fit first, because you are coming up in the market, you really want to know whether this will work or not, who are the customer, what kind of problem am am I really focusing at the right problem, or am I designing the right product, or is this the right market for me, or if I be profitable by launching this product. These are the absolute necessary questions that shorter loops helps you to solve. Moving on to the next one, just to know, and if you would like to contact us, here are some of the information for you. So for a demo and or a free product discovery call, you can definitely look into the demo option that it's showing here, or you can reach out to us at marketing@shorterloop.com, or visit our website shorterloop.com. As the name says, the shorter loop is shortening the loop between your idea and the value realization, or making it a reality, and being wow or feeling wow about the product. And for all the webinar audience today, we have this option. Please go ahead and use shorter loop for free. And whether you are an individual, or you are a student, or you are a product owner, or for an individual, it's completely free. Coming about our presence, so we are headquartered in USA, and we also have our presence in Netherlands and in India. Yeah, so we believe in going all over the world. We have our customers globally, so we are globally diversity believing, and also an inclusive organization. So yeah, that's about it. um, just a quick one. You know it all, but I think when we were interacting before the webinar, in the last few months, or various product teams across the globe, we identified the product teams mainly struggle for these various reasons. Definitely, they don't have the customer insights, or they don't know how to prioritize the features. Anything that is coming from the organization or from the customer or partner, they feel like working upon it, but they have limited resources, and also the limited cost, or the budget that they have. So how do they prioritize? The communication is not efficient, because people are having their own goals that are in silos, and different departments, different goals, different tools that they are using. So there are a lot of leakage of communication that is happening. The overall project management falls inadequate, because the team is not able to communicate, or not able to see through the one vision, or not able to work on one vision. So therefore, the project management becomes an issue. And you also don't know, as a product manager, everyone should be measuring the success of the product by looking into the key metrics. But many of the times we are not really focusing on the metrics, or even if we are focusing, we are not focusing at the right metrics. And the lack of transparency, because different goals, different sub goals, and the teams are not aligned, or the communication leakage that is happening. So that's about it. So how do we help here? You will find Shorter Loop being the only one platform that goes through all the stages of the continuous discovery, which Kinshuk will be covering more on this in his section, AI-powered continuous discovery and more. You will also find us that the tool does the intelligent coaching across the platform based on your usage, and also looking into the other team's usage, and also helping you and guiding you like a North Star. We are also helping you to ensure that your product market fit is right, so that the product doesn't become a failure right from your ideation, collaboration, listening stage to value realization when you have launched your product. And whatever the product it is, it could be one single product or a multiple products. And we also give you ample opportunities for experiments and idea validation, hypothesis, validating your hypothesis, collecting evidence, and so on and so forth. So moving on, this is the current space. As Gartner says that 75% of the product managers in 2023 will leverage different tools, product for product management and road mapping. And the product management software market currently growing at a CAGR of 11% from 2017, 2 billion USD to 5 billion USD in 2030. So it gives you every reason leveraging the right tools, right processes so that you get the right efficiency and also help your teams to go through this one vision, work on one problem in the beginning. And let's get into the next one. A little bit about us, that we are into product management software space, but we are also into consulting space by having various courses meant for corporates, meant for engineering, MBA grads, meant for anyone who would like to understand what is product management, or they have they don't know how to do a continuous product discovery. We help there. We have already done many consulting sessions across the globe. So if you would like to know more, do email us at marketing@shorterloop.com. Last but not the least on the intro, that here are some of the links as we talked about. So before we go there, let's see. I see there are some chat questions maybe, and if we can answer those. Okay. However, why can't we have some questions right now before we get into the next session? Then why don't you have any if there are any questions, or team, if you got some questions from the live streaming, do let us know and we can answer this at this point. Okay. Guys, can you also do this? Could you share with Mayank the Zoom link, our next session? So I will move for the next session to get started. So we start with our customer speaks, and Mayank, are you there?
It's the time, yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, moving on with our customer speaks. Let's hear out what Camilla has to say about Shorter Loop. So here is her video. Let me know.
I like all the features, but however, to mention some of the key ones that I loved would be the whiteboarding, which just allows us to do easy brainstorming with the whole team. Idea manager, the AI-powered efficiency in gathering all those product ideas and searching through them. That's pretty strong. Product discovery, I think, was very cool. The fact that, you sort of help us guide the strategic product vision, which again creates exceptional user experiences. The fact that we can do a lot of A/B testing and create hypotheses and do all those experiments allows us to focusing on the right problem at the right time. And the product planning, I think that's also very, very strong. The prioritization matrix, I think you call it, it just helps us shape the right product strategy by mapping it on, on the visual roadmaps and creating summaries. That's pretty cool. I guess, the biggest problems that Shorter Loop is solving for my organization is the fact that it's all this, streamlined workflow. It's one tool for all of our product needs. And we no longer have to, deal with any integration issues or just searching, where do we save this? Where's that? It's all here. And why I would recommend Shorter Loop? The efficiency when it comes to collaboration, it's smart. And I like the fact that we can bring, our product teams and the stakeholders together in one tool. The user-friendly UI, it's simple, it's clean, and it really didn't require any training. I like the fact that we can do strategic product development, strong product discovery, and have that strategic roadmap planning. Pretty cool. We have all the feedback in one place. We can gather it, we can prioritize it, and we can act on it in a very, very simple way. And the dashboards that helps us get insights, top down, bottom up, wherever, on what level you need to see it, it's all there. And I guess it's just, design thinking in action. It's a tool that is built by product development teams to do better design thinking. You can just tell. So I loved how the application sort of helps us become masters of design thinking, and it really has allowed us to become better product managers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camilla. And I know you are with us today. We will hear from you shortly. But audience, I really believe that, customers speak everything about the product. So it's happy to know, Camilla, you are liking the product, and we are willing to listen more and more from you on your continued experiences. So moving on, guys, let's get into the next slide.
I like all the features, but however, to mention some of the key.
Get into the next one. So that will just give me a minute. Okay. Starting with our next session, that's keynote. What SaaS companies must do to drive product-led growth. I would like to welcome Mayank Gandhi, the Principal Product Strategy Director at Oracle for quoting, ordering, and subscription management. Mayank, over to you with a little introduction, and let's get to hear more from you on this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sudiptaa, and thank you, Shorter Loop, for having me here. Just briefly about me, been in the SaaS industry for over a decade now. I started as an engineer, more on the cloud side, engineer by profession as well, but got a really good opportunity to start to see the cloud products in its nascent stage. When Salesforce was getting started, when the tech giants were getting more comfortable with the idea that cloud is here to stay. At the same time, customers also getting comfortable with the idea that cloud is there and it's something that we should embrace, we shouldn't be afraid of, as opposed to the trend that was there before 2009, 2010 time period. So got my curiosity basically up as I was working in the engineering role with customers, the product that they were using. I was working for a smaller company. Got interested in how do they use the product? What is it in the product that makes them stay? And trying to understand the aspect of product management. So that's how at least I got my start in the product management arena. And over the period of like multiple years, got again the opportunity to own multiple different products across the stack when it comes to sales enablement in the enterprise arena in the B2B world. So that's about me. Let's get started for some of the things that I wanted to touch upon in today's session. So starting with the product-led growth, what is it? What do I mean by product-led growth? And some of you might be familiar with the term, but before even that, let's ask ourselves, what is my product, right? If I have to ask you, like, what are the products that you might use in your day-to-day life? It could be an app, it could be something, and maybe let's stick with softwares or applications that you might use on your phone or your laptop. If you can like type in the chat, what are some of the cool products that you really like that you use on the daily basis that you would recommend to your friends, to your family? That could be a good start. Meanwhile, so what is it about the product-led growth that the companies that you see here or the products that you see here are exemplifying? What it means essentially is that you are making the product the core driver of for your business. When it comes to customer acquisition, when it comes to retention, when it comes to expansion, it's anything and everything to do around the product, and you're using that as a niche to expand your business footprint. Talking about Zoom, the platform that we're using right now, was it the case that there was no other web conferencing tool or the video conferencing tool before Zoom existed? No, there were giants like Google, there were giants like Cisco's out there championing the market. But what is it about Zoom that gave them the tremendous exponential growth in past 5 years? They were good before COVID, and they saw the opportunity during COVID when they expanded their footprint from being an enterprise web conferencing tool into something that could be used by consumers directly. If small companies want to have their people connected with each other, with other folks, conducting the seminars, the webinars, and whatnot over the internet, they can do that. The best thing that they did, and the reason behind their success, was that they made the whole experience frictionless. What is it about the web conferencing that you need? I need to be able to talk to the colleagues who are joining me in that meeting. I need to be able to share my screen if I have something. I need to be able to collaborate. Let me chat. Let me see who the participants are. Let me record this meeting if needed. It seems smaller but important features, but the way these features were built, the way these features were introduced to the users of this Zoom conference was done in such a fantastic way that there was no need for training for anybody who's using Zoom, even for the first time, to understand what's this tool that I'm looking at. There's no training required for that. That's their success story. And they stick to their guts and expanded on that when it comes to experiences for enterprises, experiences for SMBs, experiences for one-on-one conversations that somebody might want to hold with another person. So across the board, it's the user-centric approach that they have taken. It's easy to say you need to apply design thinking principles in your product management strategy, but it's way different. It's way harder to actually do that. But once you are doing it right, or once you are getting on that path, you will be able to quickly realize the success that it can bring for your organization. Yes, exactly. WebEx is another example. GoToMeetings was another example that reached their peak much before COVID and then sort of fell off the chart after Zoom taken over. Some of the other examples here are Figma, Canva, Trello. These are your collaboration tools that allow basically anybody who's sharing the canvas with anybody else collaborate on ideas, doing the whiteboarding, doing the idea generation sessions and whatnot. And again, you will find the similar pattern here, that once you start using the tool, things are discoverable. They are self-discoverable. You do not need to be trained. With a very quick tutorial just to let you know like what features, what buttons are where, it would be very easy for you to catch up on these tools. And that's again is the user-centric approach, that in order to use the product, again, unless you're talking about very complicated processes and whatnot that might involve in, let's say, project management in Jira and whatnot, your product should be discoverable. The features in the product should be discoverable. It needs to allow users to not just discover the features, but also understand that what is the use of what button that I'm seeing on the screen, all my touch points. And that's again some of the things that these companies or these products have exemplified very well. And this is what I mean by when they grew their business because of the product ideas that they have, and not just because they had a bright idea. They executed very well on these ideas, keeping the product at the center of their business strategy. So moving on, what are some of the challenges for growth, right? When you're talking to product leaders, one of the biggest challenge, and this is also because not just because of the shifting economic realities, but this has been a traditional challenge that has not been solved very well across the board. That's your customer acquisition cost. How are you marketing your product? How well are you reaching to the targeted audience? Note here, right, that it's a target audience that is required in order to convert those leads into actual customers, into actual paying customer. And there are costs involved with that, not just the monetary cost, but the effort that it involves also in the effort to identify who should be your target audience that you're going after, the value that your product, starting with defining what your product is, and then conveying or articulating the value of the product to the target audience. That's where the rubber hits the road. And there's a cost involved there to gain new sort of customers. Once you gain it, then again, you have to ensure as a product leader that they are here to stay. Talking about subscription economy, it's very easy to provide, let's say, a try and run for my product that somebody can just sign up for and use it for 7 days, for 30 days, and whatnot. How can you guarantee that this free subscribed customer will be pay at the end of the trial period? That's where your product features needs to come and shine. Your product needs to provide the value for the customers, because now that you have provided the trial, they are going to experience it. They are going to know that whether it is actually giving me the value or is it all a sham. So that's another challenge for product leaders. And then there are underneath that, architecturally speaking, technologically speaking, there are shifting trends in the technologies being used to develop the products. At the first time when you are architecting your product, how it should be built, how it should be designed, you might have done all of your due diligence, but have you made sure that this is a scalable design? Is this a robust design that can stand the changing reality? If tomorrow some pieces of the technology changes, how will that affect you or your product, basically, without really affecting your business model, without really affecting your actual customers who are using the products? So how well have you architected the product? And then lastly, your monetization strategies. So is your pricing model simple enough for the customer to understand what do they need to pay in order to use this product? What are the pricing models? Going back to Zoom's example, one of the, again, good things that they have done, they have kept their pricing very simplified. They have made it consumption based. They have made it they have segmented it by if you are a single user customer kind of scenario, or a very small business scenario with less than 10 users. This is going to be a cost model. If you are looking to do a web conferencing with, let's say, an audience of 500 or so, you might just use that at one time and then pay a one-time cost for that. So they have simplified their pricing model for their customers. But Zoom again could be a different example here, because they are enterprise, or they started in the enterprise arena. But for your small company, or for your smaller scale product, maybe in its nascent stage, do you need to spend millions of dollars going after companies like those and consultants to figure out your pricing strategies? Maybe not. Unless you are in that unique situation, like a unicorn company who's just cracking the market for the first time, there's a good chance that you have competitors out there who have done things right that you can learn from. There could be a parallel examples that you can use, or the parallel products that you can look at in terms of the pricing strategies, and learn from that as a starting point for your own pricing strategies. So do that due diligence. Make sure like you're researching on those facts and figures very thoroughly. You're working with the data. Data is there to help you. And now, much more than before, you got the AI tools, you got the machine learning tools that can help you analyze this data without spending months and months and years just trying to work with the data and try to make sense of it. For which previously you would have your data science engineers, your pricing experts and all working with this kind of data. So that's the beauty of AI that we'll be seeing in a few minutes. Moving on from the challenges again, so these are some of the top challenges. Obviously, there are a lot more when you are a growing company, when you want to grow your product, but these are some of the ones that I wanted to highlight just for today's session. So how can AI help you, right? I would ask it differently. Why shouldn't AI help you? If something can be made more efficient in your job as a product leader, as a product manager, or in a product role, why shouldn't you use the technologies that is now at your disposal much more than it was ever before? ChatGPT has simply made the concept the technology more viral because of its great feature about being the generative AI. You can ask a question, it can reply you as if you're talking to a person. That's well and good. But the technology actually existed for a long time. So as a product leader, if you're not already thinking about how to employ AI in your product management processes, then you might need to have a different talk with your leadership. But this is still the right time to start asking those questions. If you have a data that typically your engineers, your product managers, your colleagues work with, AI can help you not just give you the validation of the hypothesis that you might be the patterns that you might be detecting as a human when looking at the data, but it can also help you detect new patterns that a human might have not gone to, or not gone to the extent of it. Talking about testing your products. So your brightest QA engineer might be able to come up with, let's say, 100 test cases for a given feature that you might be looking to launch. But I would still challenge you that AI can still, working with the same data, AI and your algorithm, your machine learning algorithm can give you much more broader test cases. And further, those test cases can be automated to do the testing, to do the repeated testing. And again, finding the anomalies, finding the patterns there. If it is finding a bug, maybe the bug is in one area, maybe the bug is in 3 areas. Is there any correlation? These are the tools that you can use to help detect the patterns here, which is extremely difficult even for the very trained professional to do without spending a lot of time with this data. That is the power of AI that can be leveraged in your product development processes across the board. And then typically you can look at the real-time analysis, make sure you have the telemetrics in place, for example, to know the user behavior, to know the interaction behavior. It could be a user interacting with your system, it could be a system interacting with your system or your product. If you're not tracking what is being done with your product, you are being reactive as opposed to being proactive in knowing what patterns are coming up, and then be ready to take action items based on those patterns if they are critical enough. So that's again, that's the real-time analysis that you can employ AI to help you with. Then moving on. So lastly, what I want to cover for the 4 pillars that I think are really critical in a product manager's portfolio, what I call them as product manager's charter. So we touched upon user-centric design, and just the definition of being user-centric, and companies have been saying for a long time, good companies, big companies have been saying for a long time that they are customer-centric. But if you talk to any leaders in and their experiences in the past for 10 years, they would attest to the fact that this definition of being customer-centric has changed, has shifted, has evolved actually. That what it means truly to be user-centric design, and it could be user, it could be your actual consumer who's using the product. Just putting them at front and center of the product and then designing the features around it is not sufficient. You need to understand the emotions behind it, why somebody is using certain feature in certain way, in certain circumstances, what is leading you to go there. Do you want to motivate the users to use more things? Can you guide your users in the right way, to use your product in the right way, to do the things in a more efficient manner? All of those aspects of the design for your product needs your user to be at the front and center of the product. And that's what it means by design thinking. That's what it means by having your product being designed, by keeping the user at the front and center. I don't have to repeat it, but data-driven decision-making. We have been talking about this for years and years now. And this is again more important now that you have tools to actually work with the data in a much more efficient way. Your gut feeling, if you are a good product manager, you are taking essentially more right decisions than the wrong decisions on your day-to-day basis. You may come up with the hypothesis based on your experiences that I think this is what we should do in the product to improve it. Well and good. But can you use actual data to support that hypothesis? Can you detect patterns from the data, the feedback that you're getting from your leadership, from the market, from the consumers and whatnot? Can that support this hypothesis? If not, that is also fine. Then you can employ the prototyping and whatnot uh, in your product development processes. But make sure you're paying attention to the data. Data on its own cannot do miracle, but it can ensure higher success rates than not employing the data in your process. And that's again one of the keys that I've always told my product managers and my colleagues that I've worked with, that we need to have data to support the hypothesis, and the quality of the data can be improved over time. It could be relooked at. Again, that's why we need to have the feedback loop to work on some hypothesis, for prototype it. If it fails, better to fail early than waiting till the end when everything is done and dusted, and then realize there's nobody out there to use my product if it is not good enough. And then lastly, again, just wanted to touch upon continuous but qualified feedback. Alignment is an overused term in the corporate world, but you need to be aligned with your customers' expectation. You need to be aligned with your consumers' expectation, align with your leadership's expectation, the stakeholders' expectation. And that feedback can actually help you make sure that your product is not just a success, but it is meeting and extending those, sorry, not extending, meeting those expectations, essentially, that that you are setting, or that your product is setting by that way out there in the world. So, and how you can incorporate that feedback into the product, that's where the difference is between your good and an average product managers. That how are you qualifying the feedback? How can that pattern be used in your product development processes, in your product story grooming sessions and whatnot, to make sure that you're prioritizing the right things at the right time for the right audience, not the other way around. That's why I would like to end at least my I don't know if I think I went over a couple of minutes, but that's essentially the last thought that I want to leave you with. Just make sure that you're paying attention to some of these key things or key models when it comes to product management processes in your life or for your companies.
Thank you so much, Mayank. I think there is a question from Jyoti while you were asking that what are the product management tools that you are using, when you are showing the product-led growth slide. And I think Jyoti mentioned that MS Teams, WebEx, but she also has a question, how does AI help in setting up a meeting? Do you have any answer for that? I would also...
sorry, do you mind repeating the question? I'm just...
Yeah. I will show. So this is what Jyoti, would you like to talk now? You can unmute yourself and do ask the question. I think that's the best.
Yeah, thank you, Sudiptaa. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Since I'm a founder of an organization, so I was actually asking a lot of queries, because Mayank is a person who hails a lot of experience into the SaaS, right? So I wanted to understand from him. So I'll ask the next question: how the AI is going to help in terms of setting up a meeting, because you already discussed in terms of the product. So how am I going to get benefited when I actually have a lot of services, which is a product for my company? How it is going to be a game changer, and how I can collaborate and use your AI intervention to get the best out of it. Yeah.
So let me take an example, and you might be able to correlate to this. Let's say there's a sales scenario that you are engaged in a sales conversation with a potential customer. Let's call them prospect A. They ask a bunch of questions, and you got a certain product knowledge, certain knowledge about obviously, as a founder, you have all of that information, and in some way, if that is documented, AI can help you come up knowing that knowledge base, knowing and extrapolating the information from that, can come up with good answers that how you can respond to the prospect. Now, based on that, you can also basically your prospect may respond to say, you know what, this is helpful, but I would like to understand more. That's the cue, right? To set up. Let's talk. Let's understand your problems further, rather than just chatting in a question and answer manner.
Absolutely rightly said, Mayank. I think that is something which definitely helps us, and even I propagate to my clients about this AI intervention helping them. However, for small enterprises like me, my company, which is a very not very big, so definitely we deal with a limited number of clients. We have a limited data. We know their characteristics. We know everything. Right now, AI has taken over, and our duty is towards feeding in data, which is definitely, you are aware, when you start up, when you have a limited number of manpower. Also, at the same time, your product is niche in the category where it needs to validate, it needs to have a lot of data into the system, to bring in those answers, or definitely give you the best answer. We also are aware what is the best answer. So right now, with this project management system, with whatever you said, makes sense definitely for a larger sum of group of people. But how is it going to help me? How can I get benefited from your intervention?
So, and especially for all the SMBs, right, or the kind of niche area that your product or your service is in, the good part is that especially about the generative AI, and I'm not just talking about going and asking ChatGPT certain questions, but think about holistically that you got small set of actual facts that the customers that you know or the prospect that you know about certain characteristics about them. You can actually use that to find a pattern that what other companies or customers that whose data is out there on internet can match these sort of limited characteristics that I know of, and at least use that as a primary data to start your work with, and then honing on that, so that you don't need to add in more factor because you are not there just yet, but you can use that as a starting point to gather more data so that you can actually work with that to make sure that at least whatever your hypotheses are about these limited set of characteristics for these set of customers and their need, that can actually this data can actually provide you more confidence in certain decisions that you're taking based on your hypothesis that you want to go forward with.
So if I have to summarize and summarize what you said for my better understanding, it's like whatever I have, it'll give me a relevant further perspective to develop further certain sets of consumers or audiences whom I want to attract, whom I want to get into my business.
Yep.
Without wasting my XYZ amount of money. Am I right? If I got you correctly.
Yeah. And the best part is that what you have is the first party data, that you actually collected that data. You know that for sure.
True.
What you're trying to get out there, you can qualify that as a third party data, that you started with the first party data and then you're trying to find third party data and then correlate them to further build confidence in your certain decisions.
Okay, fine. I tried to understand, and I got to what you are trying to make me understand as well. And somewhere we reached a conclusion that yes, it will help me derive and get more into the conclusions of the other people, audiences whom I have not reached out with this help of AI. Because AI will not only help me to nurture, to understand myself, but also with this entire functionality, I'll be able to reach out to a new audience with the particular skill sets or whatever interests they have.
Yeah.
If I've gotten the layman terms correctly.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you, Mayank. Thanks. That was my query. Thank you, Sudiptaa, for asking me to unmute. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayank. It's good to hear this discussion. So moving on to the next topic, is there any other question that we have for Mayank? If not, we will just move to our next session.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead with the next session. Let's welcome Kinshuk, our CEO of Choudhury. Kinshuk, over to you for your lovely session that we are eager to hear regarding AI-based product discovery and more. Go ahead and over to you. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Sudiptaa. Thank you, Sudiptaa. Hi, everyone. I'm Kinshuk Kale. I am the founder and CEO of Choudhury. A little bit about me. I grew up in a very nice university town called Pune in India, and now I live in another very nice university town, Utrecht, also in India. I have been a software engineer for 23 years and a product manager for 10 years. And for the last 15 years or so, I have mainly been working as a product coach and agile coach. And about 18 months back, I founded Shorter Loop because I got tired of seeing that companies who spend an enormous amount of effort on figuring out how to deliver products fast with a lot of quality still kept failing because their product didn't solve a problem or the product didn't have a market fit. And so one of the things that I want to achieve with this is to help product teams build great products. But how do we build great products? So the greatness of product management is not that you have like a brilliant idea one day and then you develop it and then suddenly, oh, you have a fantastic product and successful product. That's not how it works. That's not how even Steve Jobs worked. The greatness is in making sure that out of hundreds of decisions you have to make every week as a product team, you get most of them right. And that's the essence of product management, in my opinion. So what do product teams do? Since we are talking about product teams, what do they do? So if you look at that, there are three kinds of things. There's discover, as in what is it that we want to build? Deliver, okay, then let's build it. And learn, how did we do? Did we fulfill our business objectives by delivering this particular item? So to dive a bit deeper into that, discover is deciding what to build, deliver is building it, and learn is understanding the impact of our work. Now, discovering is working out most valuable things that we want to build. Deliver is delivering value quickly, and learning is drawing insights from those. Now, if you look at the current state of these three things, deliver phase is very well understood. It is highly structured. There are lots of different frameworks that people use. There are lots of different approaches. There is agile, there is waterfall, there is disciplined delivery, etc., etc. People have thought deeply about this for a long time, and there are a lot of solutions and frameworks for that. But discover and learn, those things are not very well known because they're unstructured. They're not, there is a lot of chaos involved in that. There is a fog of product management, and you need to develop clarity. And so often product teams don't do well when it comes to discover and learn. And that's when their decisions, those are the phases where their decisions fail. So why are we wrong in product management? So Chip and Dan Heath wrote a book on the whole decision-making process called Decisive, in which they mention these four villains, basically, of bad decision-making. So first is narrow framing, where we focus on a very concentrated section of a problem that can be very wide. Lack of clarity on the problem, which is basically you just don't know enough about the problem to actually address it. Confirmation bias, where we only seek the data that confirms our preconceived notions, and we ignore data that goes contrary to that. That's just our psychology. And then overconfidence. As a product manager or even as a founder, you have to have some kind of confidence in in the fact that you're right, but that often turns into overconfidence, and then that also leads to bad decision making. And when we make bad decisions, one of the things that happens is that we don't test our assumptions, some of which are very critical to our business, early enough in our product journey. And so when that happens, there are a lot of risks built that get built into the product. So for example, one of the things is you may build something that has no value for your customers, so customers just don't want it, and so that's the value risk. Or you may build something that is so complex to use that even though it's a brilliant thing, it's just not very easy to use, and then people don't use it. Or that it's a it's a beautifully built thing. It is also of value, but it is going to take you like a few $1,000,000 to build it, and you just don't have that money. So that's the feasibility risk. Then there might be a condition where you even have the money, but for your business, it doesn't make sense to go into that direction. So for example, if tomorrow shorter loop starts, uh, to build, say, drones, then that would not be a viable business decision for us. And then of course there are ethical things and ethical questions, especially when it comes to AI. Where we talk about AI a lot, but how much dependent should we get on AI, or how powerful should we let the AI become? Um, Ethical question. Also, all the hoopla currently going on with respect to the Bitcoin bust, and all these money laundering scams and so on that are happening. So even if there is a profit for your business to indulge in some of those questionable practices, there is ethical risk for your business. So, and companies, day in, day out, we see companies keep making these decisions, these sort of risks. They keep taking on these risks. So how can we avoid that? How can we be right more often? Now, the answer, in my belief, it lies in continuous discovery. So what is continuous discovery? Continuous discovery basically believes that your product is not a static thing. Your product is a living, breathing thing, and it needs to be shaped. And who's in the best position to shape your product? It is your customers, because they are benefiting from your product, they're deriving value, and they're using it day in and day out. So how do we then make sure that we involve customers, end users, in shaping our product? We do that by talking to the customers, learning new things every day, every week, every sprint. So these are not huge customer research, UX research projects, but these are small activities that we do, small experiments that we do day in and day out, that inform our everyday decisions, and that's how we make our products better. And that's continuous discovery for you. So continuous discovery has 4 steps. So first is we have to agree on some desired business outcome, because if you are going to do something, we have to first all agree that, okay, it is worth doing, and this is the benefit that we are going to derive from it, because that's the important part. If there's no business benefit, why do that? Then the next step is we have to speak to our customers regularly. We have to figure out what their needs are, and we have to map their needs to some solutions that we can come up with. Then once that is done, we have to size and identify, we have to size those needs and pick the one that we can fulfill the best, that we can meet the best, and then work on that. And while we are building that solution, we have to continuously validate our assumptions with lots of experimentation, to make sure that we are on the right track. So this might sound a bit complex, but let me explain with an example. So at Shorter Loop, we were trying to see, okay, so so far we have built a pretty good product. We're getting really good user feedback. User satisfaction levels are high, but we wanted to enhance our user engagement with our collaborations, because that was lacking certain things. So we started out by deciding that, okay, one of the key results for next quarter is going to be 25% increase in the usage of collaboration tools, which includes our whiteboard and our documentation. Okay, so we started out with that. First thing to do was to go reach out to our customers and figure out what is it that they need. So for that, we had to build this customer persona. Now I'm showing you screenshots from our tool because that's what we use. You don't necessarily have to use the tool. I'm trying to walk you through a process that you definitely should use. Uh, our tool helps that process, but it is not necessary to use. You can also use Google Docs, for example. It will be inefficient, but there are alternatives. So we built a persona. We talked to like a bunch of users, dozens of users. We figured out what are they trying to accomplish when they're using, collaboration tools. What are the things they love about being collaborative? What are the things that are very like creating obstacles in their path? And we built this persona. Once we had this persona, it emerged that there were three main challenges that our customers have. First is often these documentation systems, if you have used any wiki for a long time, you will know that they get very huge, um, and they're poorly organized, and it becomes a nightmare to find information in those systems. The second problem that they had was sometimes for some teams, people just didn't want to document anything because everything was in everyone's head, and who's got the time to like actually put things down on the paper. And the third type of problem was that once the documentation was created initially, it was very difficult to keep it up to date and make sure that everything was on track all the time. So these were the three main problems that emerged when we spoke with our customers. Now we had to pick one of them. So uh, uh, I'll come to this later. We had to pick. We had to size and pick one of the problems. So we had to answer three questions for each problem. What is the spread of the problem? So how many teams, how many of our customers are facing this problem? How intensely are they facing this problem? And is this problem aligned with our strategic vision and our own strategy? So we looked at our idea manager where lots of people had, given us different ideas in terms of different features, etc. they wanted to build. We categorized them into different themes, and then it emerged that information overload was a big theme that was felt by a lot of people. And the other two themes were not that widespread. Um, uh, so we decided to focus on the first one, which was how to make sure that people can people can still like gain benefit out of their documentation modules, even if there's a lot of information as they grow large, as they scale. So we ideated actually, so this is where this other value proposition comes into picture. So we ideated on that, and then we came up with two solutions, right? One was to provide a documentation management system that is basically a directory tree. So you can start with your organizational level documentation. Then you can have your product level documentation. Then you can have your team level documentation, and so on. Like a very systematic, structured way. We'll provide it out of the box, so you don't have to do any setup, and we'll give advanced searching so that you can search for anything. So that was first idea. The second idea was forget hierarchy. Why do we even need hierarchy? There's no need for hierarchy because that's not how we think. So we'll just create a graph-based system, um, where every document or any document can connect to any other document, and you don't have to worry about hierarchy at all. So let me ask you guys, which system do you prefer? So if you prefer system on the left, just give me a thumbs up. Anyone?
I'm an audience. Go ahead and answer. Feel free. Yes.
All right. Um, I guess you don't know enough about the system to actually make a decision. Okay, so Shubha is saying graph. Interesting point, Shubha, because I will show you. This was my preference also, because graphing is cool. It makes sense to a lot of people, and it just new. It hasn't been done, so I was like, yeah, graph. We have to do graph. That's the way to go. I love this, and I still love this, and I think that's the best solution, to be honest. However, we needed to validate, because I'm biased, because I'm engineer by training, and so I like solutions that are cool and difficult to implement. So I wanted to validate that this was really the right way to go. So that's the next step for continuous discovery, which is, let's go and really figure out, what do our customers want. And there are like 15 different, maybe more, but 15 commonly used methods for validating our assumptions. And basically they start from just asking users to actually building something and getting their feedback. And also you need to, sometimes some methods afford only, like you can only do few users, you can only ask a few users or test a few users, versus there are some methods that you can use to test as many as possible, or a lot of you. So we decided to first use user surveys to do like a um, basic check, and then we did some wireframe testing. And when we actually did this, we discovered that 83% of our users preferred directory tree, because when we showed them the graph systems, it was like, what is this? This is confusing. This is going to be hard to maintain. Why do you hate me? Etc. Versus directory tree, everyone had seen, everyone had used Confluence, everyone was familiar. So yeah, okay, cool. I get it. It's fine. It makes sense. So those sort of answers we got. So then this is why we decided to build uh, a documentation module based on directory tree, and it will be out in about 3 weeks or so. So by January 1st, we'll come out with this module. But my point is that because of continuous discovery, basically it saved us from building something cool that 83% of our customers would have found quite difficult to use. And so we avoided that, even though I still believe in that. We may have to in the future figure out some better, cool, easier way to build that system. So which brings me to my next point, which is, okay, so how can we use AI to enable this whole system? So before we go into AI, there's a caveat, which is using AI doesn't mean that we can take leave of our brains. We have to still use our brains. We have to still keep thinking. Also, AI is not going to substitute actual customer contact. So AI may give you suggestions, but you do have to validate those suggestions by actually talking to your customers, actually doing experimentation, actually, and figuring things out for yourself. So one of the ways in which AI can help, and actually we have built this into our system, is you will get vast amount of data, right? You have customer data, you have feedback, and so on. If you get only 10 items of feedback from your customers, you have a problem, because there's not enough feedback. But if you get 10,000 items of feedback from customers, you still have a problem, because now you have to read those 10,000 items, categorize them, process them, synthesize them. This is where AI comes into picture, because AI can sift through a lot of data to show you the trends, to show you the categorization, show you the broader themes within that feedback. And in our idea manager, the AI can actually, our AI implementation, AI model can actually look behind the feature requests and tell you that, oh, lots of people are asking for this form to be structured that way and this way and buttons to be changed. But the main problem then is that this form is structured differently or in a bad way, or the UI is confusing. So we need to go beyond just feature request and look at the root cause of the problem. So that's where the AI comes into picture, because it goes beyond your biases as a product team or as a product manager, and it can look at the root cause of things. The next thing AI models can do, is they can analyze your product artifacts, like personas that you have built, value propositions you have built, business models you have built, and it can surface hypotheses or assumptions that you are using in order to come up with a model. And not only can they surface those hypotheses, AI could also suggest how to validate it. So, for example, here you can see that AI has suggested that in order to validate this hypothesis, whatever it is, uh, a good thing to do would be to build a paper prototype and then test it with various users for a month, and you will only need to spend about like $100 on that. So this is a really good thing about using AI, because now you're not using it for like text completion uh, and things like that, but you're using it to actually improve your own process, improve your own experimentation, and so on. Another way in which AI can help is, it can analyze customer interactions. It can, analyze sentiments, and so on. And it can, NLP can give you all that information very quickly. And then another thing, Jyoti, this is quite pertinent to your question, which is
Thank
AI can
you.
help you. AI can help you make make better deals, because now we haven't built this, but this is our vision. This is something that we want to do. Is if you connect your CRM and your
Mm-hmm.
financial systems with AI, for example, AI systems could tell you what is going to be your sales forecast for the next 6 months, or it could tell you which customers you need to focus, which customers are using your systems better than others.
That's important. That's the relevant point. You caught it up and you brought it in the entire
Yeah.
discussion. That's very, very important.
So these sort of things that AI can do. AI can really help, like AI models can really help your bottom line in this way. This requires a lot of investment in building that AI and connecting your systems and so on. So often it is not possible for like individual business or a small business to do it, but that's why
So,
we are doing it, because then we can do it at scale and we can help bunch of other companies as well.
I
uh,
think that's something relevant for the bigger scale companies and also for the companies down the line. Once you have bigger scale of companies, we smaller scale of companies will get benefited out of it.
yeah, so this could help everyone. And
True.
then we could stretch this continuous, AI modeling. We could continue stretch beyond continuous discovery. And when you add, things like deep learning and machine learning to the mix, then AI
Mm.
can do market simulation and scenario analysis for you. So what happens if, inflation rises or interest rates are cut? What will happen? Or what sort of operational, margins you can do better? What is your financial analysis, etc. So models can do all these things, provided you have good data to give to them. It can also do things like, tell you which features should be prioritized, what should be on your roadmap, etc. What are your dependencies? And we are planning on building all of this next year, because that is going to be our focus, one of our focuses in terms of adding AI capabilities to Shorter Loop. Uh, that was my time. Does anyone have any questions?
Uh, I think no question, Kinshuk, but we'll come back. I think Mayank,
Yeah.
could you be there for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, quickly. We can then get started with the panel discussion. So let me start sharing my screen, and Kinshuk, if you can give me the access. Let me tell you what is our the next panel session is. It's about how we can stop 95% of the new products that become a failure every year. And we have two experts, of course, Mayank and Shubha from Savint, and also, as you know, Mayank. So let me get started with you, Mayank, knowing that you have to, get into another meeting for now. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. So the question that we have, Mayank, what do you think that how can we stop doing this failure of these new products? I am going to bring that information for you. Yeah, please go ahead and share your experience with the audience.
Sure. So, very interesting question, and then there's obviously no perfect answer for this side that how can we stop the failure? But what we can do is to ensure that the failure rate could be lower. So, key things that I think every product leader should be working day in day out in the role in their job for their businesses is that first of all follow market research. There's just no other option for not doing the market research and coming up with the idea, as Kinshuk said in his keynote. Just having a bright idea is not enough. You need to have the data to support that, which means that you need to do your research, you need to validate your hypothesis, you need to use data to back that up. Define the product. What is your product that you have? What is the value that you're trying to provide to the businesses who should be using your product? Again, doesn't matter how big or the small the businesses or your audience is, but what is the value that they should be getting out of it? And then finding those right set of customers for you. That requires research. And as I said, unless you are in that very unique situation with coming up with a very bright idea, which even Steve Jobs didn't do completely, you would have some data already out there to back your research up, and that should be used as a basis to start working on these ideas and then converting that into an actual product. You can obviously start early by doing the prototyping. Start early by defining what is it that can make your product an actual viable product in the market. And again, it doesn't matter which area you are in, how big or how small your product is, or what your target market is. But this is one of the common themes that could be applied across the base, especially when you're talking about software products. And even like you can see this, a lot of pilots has been done even for the physical products where certain product in certain way are being put out for the actual customers, actual users to test and then see what their experiences are, what problems they are facing, so that companies, the product owners, the product leaders can learn from that, and then from that learning, improve the product. So this is really important. This iteration of prototyping and defining the MVPs or redefining the MVPs is a critical to ensure success with every iteration. And something that I've touched upon in my session, your consumer-centric design. Again, note the consumer part here, right? That it could be a system, it could be user using your product. Understanding them completely, what their motivations are, what their expectations could be, what is the value that they're trying to get out of it. All of these, most of these may not be a straightforward question that you can just ask your consumer and they would be able to provide you the answer. But good product leader would be able to ask good enough questions around this theme to understand the actual need for the customers. And this again won't just stop at talking or getting the feedback from a limited sort of customer. You might start there, but you would need to be able to identify identify the patterns across the feedback that you're getting. And that's where AI can help you identify the patterns. If you are in a good enough setting where just talking to 5 or 6 customers is giving you enough data, good. But that's not the reality for majority of products which are trying to make a viable business model out there. which means that you can have a lot of feedback data, direct or indirect, your first party or third party data, as I said, which would need analysis. So that's where you can use AI tools to understand the motivation, to understand the needs for the consumer, and then design your product with that in your mind. And then lastly, the growth mindset and continuous improvement. So this is something that I've seen even the seasoned product managers sometimes fail at. When it comes to, you may have some initial successes with your products, right? That you hit a good idea, you executed on that, and you've gotten some success with that. How do you take it up from there? You were a small company, now you're a medium-sized company. Would you want to just stay there, or would you want to grow? So good product leaders apply the growth mindset, that you should always be in a growth mindset, and you shouldn't let yourself, your team just reach a plateau that, okay, what we have something is good enough. Let's just continue working with that. That might work for some time, but one way or the other, some other challenger can come in your niche and will challenge you, will shift you from that leadership position to be a follower position. So a good product leader gets ahead of the curve by keeping this kind of mindset that you need to find new avenues, considering the niche that you are in, or the product niche that you're trying to build for yourself, but the associated values that you can provide with that product to make it not just the relevant, but lead the go in with the leader position as opposed to follower position. That's basically some of the key things that I think can help product, or like if these are the things that your product leaders are keeping in mind and executing on, can help prevent some failures, if not all, just in my opinion.
Thanks, Mayank. There is a question that what are the two important, the steps that are absolutely non-negotiable, and also another question that what are the key product metrics that we should be tracking as the product manager or a product owner or a business owner?
So I missed the first question, Sudiptaa, but let me at least start with answering the second question, which is what are the key product metrics, right? Two that comes immediately to mind, and that I really think are really important, is defining the success criteria for your own product, and then obviously validating that whether what you've defined is good enough or not. Because unless you're setting the expectation for yourself, for the audience, for the stakeholders, for the customers that you have, you won't be able to measure yourself against that how close are you getting to that. Setting a good goal is actually the first step to ensure that you're working towards something as opposed to just working on something. Second is the adaptability, that how well, again, doesn't matter how small or big your features are in your product, how well are they adapted, how much they are contributing towards the success of your product. Doing this early, or tracking these metrics early, can help you ensure that you're putting you're doing the prioritization in the right way and putting things in the right place. Because otherwise, what can happen over time as you grow, as your company, as your product grows, you may have accumulated a set of features that you have built because at that time you thought this would be useful. But if there's nobody out there using it, or very less percentage of your customers are using it, then that's a wasted effort that you are just looking in the hindsight. So keeping track of the adaptability, the adoption data for your products, for the features, is really important metrics to keep track of.
Sure. The question that I asked before is that if you really, maybe we can, this is related to your keynote session, that if there is a key takeaway for the audience from your keynote, what is that be? And if there are any AI tools that you are using it in your daily life, and you think that it would be useful to know for our audience.
Sure. So the key takeaway that I would like audience to go away to take away from my session essentially is that it has to be you need to be able to know what your product is. As I said, like even a very seasoned professionals don't always know the answer or have the clarity on what is it that they are selling. What is it that is the actual business model more than just the product. So that product and articulating the value for the product is the key, and that requires a lot of work that you don't just have to put your own time and effort to do that. there's data out there that can help you validate that when you think that this is the product that I'm selling, is the actual product that you're selling. Second point about the tool that you can use, that at least I use on my day-to-day life, or at least more frequently, unashamedly, that is ChatGPT. At times when I'm trying to find some answers which I know like may take some research, and I do that due diligence to make sure that I'm getting the right set of answers. But at times when I need to come up with responses, I need to come up with certain descriptions, which are a bit more tedious, just for my personal experience, for my skill sets. I rely on ChatGPT to at least give me the starting point, and then back that up with data that I can use to support those statements that I'm making or I'm putting out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayank. It was a lovely discussion and a lot to learn from you. Moving on to our next panel speaker, that's Shubha. And let me introduce you, Shubha.
Hi, good evening, good morning.
Hi. So yeah, Shubha comes with 17 years of IT expertise, and he's one of our panel speakers today. He excels in different products areas such as product strategy, competitive analysis, managing stakeholders, and roadmap planning. So Shubha, as per you, regarding the question, right, that we have, how we can stop 95% of the products that fail every year. What do you think, and what are your takeaways?
Yeah, certainly I think I will answer that, but before that, I would like to see the poll answer. If you can just
Yes, definitely.
give me an idea about where are we,
Yeah,
what our audience feels like, what could be the top 5 reasons of product failure.
right. Pawan, can you talk about what are the top reasons that the business fail, and what is that audience, audience feels on this? So we had, I think there were various options, right? One was poor
So
product. Yes, go ahead.
top reason that people have nominated was lack of business model. That second comes need market, no market need.
Right, I can see the poll results now. Yeah, and then I think the third one, I mean, it's a joint second, no market need and ignore customer. And then I think the third being, again, it's a joint third, it's a poor product and burnout. So I think it's somewhere there. I think Statista has performed similar statistics, and they sort of postmortem 101 companies that has failed in their startup journey. And I think, do we have the result to showcase here, Sudipta, or do you want me to pull that out?
Shubha, you can share your screen in that case. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Yeah.
Sure, I'll quickly do that if you can give me the permission.
Yeah, sure, I will.
But I think it's pretty much, I think, matching. I think the in the Statista survey that we have seen. Okay, let me share my screen now. I have the access.
Sure.
So this is the result that we have seen, I think, from Statista. So of course, the market need has been the top most reason, and 42% of the users find that if there has been no market need, the product will not going to sustain in the long run. And then the second reason, I think, being the running out of cash, so no funding, and then not the right team at the beginning stage. So it's very crucial to sustain the right mix of people and you know make them align to your goals and ambition for the product journey that you're starting with. So these being the top three, and yeah, of course, outcompeted in a very competitive market, or the pricing or the cost issues could be secondary. And in the next few minutes, I think I'll try to talk about more about how to overcome such things. So if I stop presenting and you can go back to your slide, or do you want me to continue sharing my slide?
I
Sudipta,
can
just let me know.
present it. Yeah.
All right, so let me stop sharing.
Sure, no problem.
Over to you.
Thank you,
audience. Thank you, audience, for your poll results. So moving on, talking about the ways how we can, stop this from happening. It's very crucial to learn from the mistakes of the previous startup entrepreneurs who have done or rode this journey, and then take those lessons with us and start something new. And over the journey, I think it's very important to do a proper market research. It is indispensable to validate the assumption, as my previous speakers like Kinshuk has already spoken about. And then I think you also need to ensure that the need of your customer segment or the target audience is actually being met by your product offering. So that validation is absolutely necessary, and you need to go through a little bit of pain point, finding out what are the pain and gain over the journey. AI can certainly help you there in terms of gathering the market insight, but after you receive those market insights, sit with your customer, do the validation to understand and see what is correct or what is more relevant for your specific target audience than compared to what is the prediction available from the AI. The next thing I would like to talk about is the customer segmentation. It's more about finding the right demographics, psychographics, the behavioral analytics, as we call these days, deciding the pattern, what the customer behaviors are, how are they clicking, or what exactly their customer preferences like, and then creating the content accordingly to make them more engaged and make it more successful, and communicate and continue this feedback loop as and when you differ a little bit, so that you can incorporate it in your product journey. Could you please move on to the next slide? So the third point I'd like to talk about is the predictive analytics and the financial planning aspect. Um, AI has the large power of crunching the data. So going through all your previous budgeting or financial history and then plan the budget more accurately, AI can give you more accurate result in that sense. It can also optimize your budget allocation, identifying the areas of inefficiencies, and then reallocate them or adjust the budget so that you can achieve maximize your ROI or return on investment. The fourth thing is the operational efficiency. Automation plays a great role here. Robotic process automation, or the RPA, as we call it. It helps people to free up from their repetitive tasks and then make them available for taking more strategic and value-added activities. It also improves the productivity. It can also bring up your, the input productivity level. You can optimize your resource allocation by doing that. So there are a lot of more benefits if you apply AI there. And moving on to the next section is about the talent acquisition, how AI can help you in that, starting from resume screening. It could be your initial candidate screening process, or it could be your automated scheduling of the interviews. AI can do wonder there. I know companies like CTS or Cognizant or even Answer technologies. These HR firms are already using AI techniques and to do their talent acquisition and find the right match for the position. But even for the startup, it is also holds good. So at an early stage of your startup, it is very important you have the right people at the right point in time. It's not just the CEO who is having the idea, but the CFO, CTO, CIO all have to be in place to start the product journey and overcome all the initial challenges together. And then moving to the next point, customer engagement. I think it is more about finding out what the preference of your customer segment, how they prompt to your responses, and keep really monitoring that and tracking that and customizing or targeting your go-to-market strategy according to it. Also, it talks about the dynamic pricing. AI can help you there with dynamic pricing and also responsive customer support. Chatbots are the new norm. I think everybody is having chatbot these days. So AI already playing a great role there. So I think we are already seeing there are ways we can do. Yeah, kindly move on to the next slide, Sudiptaa, if you can. Yeah, so moving on to the next 4 items, supply chain optimization, helping the predicting the demand or the reducing the stock out, minimizing the excessive inventory count. All these things can be optimized with supply chain optimization using AI models. Next one is the GTM, the go-to-market, as I was talking about earlier. You can analyze your customer feedback, the competitor data. You can gain much more insight by analyzing their pricing strategy, their approach to the market, their acquisition of customer, and then take a stance in the way you like to compete in that specific segment. And it also helps you to understand things more holistically when you have AI on your ally. The one thing or more crucial thing in any startup journey is about monitoring and finding out the early warnings. So you need to set up your metrics as well in advance and keep measuring them and see where you stand, what was expected at the specific point in time against what is your current actuals are, and try to identify the difference and then do the necessary course correction. And that, I think, helps you in terms of failing. So if you keep a quick check on where you stand and monitoring your KPIs more regularly, I think it helps you to avoid going further down into the failure path. It can help you keep check on that. And then adapting to the responsive market dynamics, being responsive to the different industry things that are happening can always help you in terms of making or maneuvering your startup journey. And finally, I'd like to point out the regulatory compliance. GDPR is being predominant here. As AI proliferates, I think along with the success of AI, I think the dark side of AI has also come out. The deepfake and things like that require more regulatory more regulatory compliance check to avoid them. And also, I think in a startup journey, if I can think of, the regulatory compliance helps you to avoid any later legal hazards. So I think if you keep them in check in the beginning of your journey, it helps and makes your life more smoother. So keep focus on data privacy, data governance while starting your journey. And then along the way, I think you can learn more things using the AI tools as you keep on using it. With that said, I'll take a pause and see if there are any questions.
Hey, Shubha. So one question that if you can tell us that all these steps, what are those absolutely important, what are or what is that absolutely important step that startups, should not be forgetting. But if you take this also as a broader horizon, right? Any business needs not to be a startup, right? What they can do, in rescuing their business failure. That's a one question, first question. And the second thing, if you would like to share the top product metrics that you believe are key based on your experience in the last 2 decades, do help us with that.
I think the first question was the most important 3 steps among these 10 steps that I talked about. Yeah, I think the hypothesis validation, market research is key. You need to sit with your customer and do that validation. That's been absolute critical because unless you have validated that, you can't really address the specific need of your customer. So the customer centric approach, what I think Mayank was talking about, is absolutely holds good. And then the second thing is about funding. I think you need to plan your funding rounds for a startup. It's very important to have the seed funding. Then in the midway of his journey, you need to think of, what's my Series A funding? When should I reach out to the next VCs? And there are several AI tools in the market that can help you out with that. The next thing I can think of is the monitoring, the early warning and adaptation. So as and when you deviate from your expected result, you can always course correct by looking at your KPIs or the necessary metrics that you have set in for success.
Great. Thank you so much, Shubha. That was a lovely, learning from your side. And yes, audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Shubha if you have. I see Rebecca asked, do you have a free plan or trial? Rebecca, yeah. So for shorter loop, yes, we have both. Yeah, for an individual, it is totally free. You can, try it right now by going to app.shorterloop.com/register. And audience, if there are any other questions, Rebecca, Ivan, Daria, you joined, I just saw. So please do ask. Meanwhile, I would like to ask you a few questions for Kinshuk, assuming there are no more questions for Shubha. Maybe we just take a few seconds if you guys have a question for Shubha. And then I will have a few questions for Kinshuk, which had been asked earlier by audience. Okay. Sure. Thank you so much, Shubha. Do stay with us. I am going to few of those questions for Kinshuk session. Kinshuk, you did talk about, maybe I can just pull out your discussion there. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So, Kinshuk, the question that we had, I think you were mentioning that regarding the feature prioritization, and I think Jyoti also had this question on the chat. Would you like to talk that how Shorter Loop helps the product teams in prioritizing the feature? What is that the tool currently provide? And also there was one more question that how does Shorter Loop bridge the gap within the different teams like software development and product management in terms of building the product or the different development activities?
Okay. I'll tackle feature prioritization first. So feature prioritization is what is it? It's basically you have to figure out what features have higher priority compared to other features. And that's basically your relative prioritization. AI can help you by telling you after looking at, so if you provide AI with the data about your customer feedback and about your CRM, and you describe your features to the AI model. Today we are training an AI model that can look at all this data and tell you that, oh, this particular feature has higher value. And we're talking about relative value, not absolute value. So for example, AI won't be able to tell you that feature X has a potential of $3 million, but it will tell you that feature X has double the value of feature Y, or half the value, or same value, or something like that. So relative value estimates. And it can also, the model can also do the relative effort estimate for you. And once you have the relative value and relative effort estimate, your job is fairly easy. You just divide value by effort, and then you have the relative score for each feature. And whichever feature has higher score will then it should go first, because that's it will give you a higher return on value. There's one key here or one more thing here that you should account for, which is what is your current strategy and how does this feature fit into that strategy. So our model currently doesn't answer that, but we're working on training that will even answer that question. So it will answer all three questions: what is the effort, what is the value, and what is the strategic alignment. That is coming at some point in the future. I don't know when, but yeah. And then the other question, sorry, I forgot the other question. What was the other question?
Yeah, Kinshuk, the other question was that in terms of
Right,
building
the
that
gap.
bridge,
Bridging the
bridging
gap.
the gap
Right.
and better
So that is a
collaboration.
very interesting, important question, because it is crucial that product team functions as a team, and it is not like a top-down structure or where someone is making decisions for the whole product or whole team. It should be a collective responsibility of the whole team to deliver value. Now, how can the team deliver value? Team will deliver value by making good decisions. But how will the team make good decisions? Team will make good decisions if all the information is available to all the team members. So often what happens is, especially in large enterprises, if you're a small team, everyone is constantly talking to each other, although remote teams have their own challenges. But in large teams, what happens is someone does this research, be it marketing team or product marketing or research team or whoever. They do some research, they build these beautiful customer personas and whatnot, but they end up staying on somewhere on their corporate intranet or in some documentation modules. which, as we have seen earlier, are very difficult to manage and get information out of. So what we do, what Choudhury does, is it brings all that information to the engineers, because all things, market research, your work items, your features, epics, your roadmaps, everything is in the same tool. And because everything is integrated so closely, that if you start work on a feature, you immediately see, oh, what is the business objective for this feature, who's the persona I'm working for this feature, and so on. And then we have some tools like impact map and value proposition and so on, that help you actually come up with features that actually satisfy your business objective and your value proposition. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Kinshuk, it does. Thank you so much. Is there any other question that we can take from the live streaming, Pavan, Anushka? If not, we'll move to our next session. That's a best practice sharing. Let's wait for a few seconds if there are any other questions for Kinshuk. Okay, I will now get into the next session. Let me quickly share that section with all of you.
There is one question I can see, Sudiptaa, in the chat
Yes,
section of Zoom.
Yes.
Can you give a relevant example of another case study which talks about your feature? That is what is mentioned by Mr. Shankar, Narayan Shankar.
Recent case studies on the use of AI. So it actually, I mean, there have been lots of case studies on individual things that are described, like building a business model or doing some market research and so on. But I don't have any like off the top of my head. Maybe I can reach out to you, Narayan, at some point and share the case study with you.
Sure. Any question from you, Ivan, before we go, or Rebek? Any other questions, guys? Okay, no worries. Yeah, keep asking. Getting into our much awaited session, 7 best practices that today's product teams follow to stay truly agile and customer centric. So here are 2 lovely ladies. Let's put a warm welcome to both of them. Archana Kamlakar, she's the alumnus of IIM Calcutta and Indian School of Business. She has 2 decades of work experience in BFSI, that's banking and financial service industry. And we have Camilla Ramberg. She is the CEO at Cool Props. Welcome, ladies. It's very nice to have you here. And yeah, a quick introduction from both of your side would be great. So let me first give it to Camilla, and we will then get started with Archana. So Camilla, I will just move to your section. Just give me a minute. Can you guys see my screen? If not, let me share that again.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, everybody. My name is Camilla Ramberg, and like already mentioned, I'm the CEO of a company called Cool Profs. What we do is actually very different from your standard product management tool in need. We are a low-code implementation partner, and we build custom software for our customers, where the IP is actually owned by the customer. So usually you build it once, and we sell it one time. That being said, my background is in software as a service. So when I took over the company, I thought, is there a way that we could diversify a little bit and develop some products that we can sell on top of our solutions, where we see and look at the common problems across our customers, and we develop products to solve those needs. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And coming into this, so Coolpros is a company, we've been around for 23 years. And like I said, I think it's 4.5 years ago that I took over. I took over a traditional company from a traditional management team. And we've been on an interesting journey because my background really is within, well, agile software. And I've worked for previous owners that loved the whole idea of servant leadership. So I thought, that's what I want to bring into Coolprofs and our people. And transparency is really key to everything that I do. And we love also sharing our knowledge, which is also a bit strange when you are a custom software company. You tend to really try and cling on to your knowledge and you just sell an end product, but you don't share. So we've really been on an interesting journey. And this slide, we usually also invite our customers to join so that they know, hey, what's expected of us. And really this whole embedded learning in everything that we do and embed innovation as part of our culture is very, very strong. And we invite all of our customers to join us in communities where we share our knowledge, we share our experience, and we bring our customers together also so that they can learn from each other. And that way we also learn. And like I said, one of the things that I found very interesting to work on was, can we create amazing solutions on top of OutSystems, which is a technology we use to generate ROI for our customers and ourselves, obviously. So that's my background. And then I'll give you the 7 learnings. And I think it's interesting for you to know that, I come about this with a totally different experience. I have a commercial background. I am very clear on vision building and building strategies. And I don't necessarily know anything about product teams and product management. But in my course of, 20 years in IT, I've learned a lot. And I also know why things fail, if you will. So I'll give you a couple of my learnings feel free to ask questions if you want. I think I've touched on enough with this whole servant leadership, but what it does, obviously, if you can have a bottom-up approach and create a very, very clear vision and strategy where it is you want to go, that's been set out, but I don't necessarily tell my teams on what it is we need to do to get there. And that is where they come in, and our R&D team and product managers, but also sales or our customers, they can come in with the what, and I will then make a decision. Okay, does it fit within the strategy, and what's the business case for this? And then we innovate and we try things, and it really helps, build a very healthy culture where we have people who stay with us for a very, very long time, but it really also allows us to act very fast and be agile and, respond to customer needs or market dynamics. One of the things I preach, which is sort of at the base of our whole strategy slide, is ownership. And ownership can come in many different forms, but we really try and create this, what's your personal stake? What's in it for you? And one of the things that we embed within our company is, we set out on a personal North Star and a personal mission that sort of needs to fit then within the company mission. And then it really, tries to get it to that personal level where you feel then that if it's aligned with our strategy and the product vision, you really see that our employees, they go above and beyond. And one of the things that we had now, I had one of our super senior consultants, he came up with a brand new and excellent product idea, and it's called Cool Model. We're working on it now. It's early access program. And, he came up with a North Star where he said, hey, I want to be the CEO of the little Cool Model company inside the big Coolprofs. And that's pretty cool. Like, you can see it as a threat, but you can also see it as, okay, this is, we're on to something here. And he's working really, really, really hard. So that's cool. The collaboration and having this sort of interdisciplinary teams, you can call it many things. It's open doors, but how we do it is I believe very, very healthy. And I think that's where I come in, and this is my biggest job. I run a company with, very, very senior nerds, I guess. They're quants, they're technical, they love to dive into their, models. I shouldn't say code, because we're working on visual software. But one of the things that they're really, really good at is coming up with technical features. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I came across Choudhury and started using Choudhury. We make really great products, but we were actually quite bad at selling them. Because our guys, they're like, well, your standard, you go to buy a car, you open the hood, you dive in and start talking about the engine instead of what are the problems, what are your needs, what's your family situation, yada, yada, yada. And that's where our guys was very, very good at making technical features, and they just thought they would sell themselves. So now one of the things with this whole interdisciplinary teams and collaboration, where, I sit there and I'm then the annoying person saying, okay, what are the problems we're solving? For who is this relevant? And what's the pain and the gain? And that's where, you saw some screenshots from Kinshuk, but, it forces us to move away from feature function and really focus on, problem solvers and for whom. And that then maybe drives us through to this whole diversity. And I don't want to, say that every team should be, very, very diverse. I think, 95% of my company is men, and we're, but what I find here is, try and diversify with who you talk to and how, how you do your selling, and don't make technical features that are great for a team or a developer, but you need to focus on the developer and the value that brings him. But you also need to talk to some program manager and a business stakeholder and do this whole multi-level selling, and then map the features and the pains and the gains to all those different levels. And that's also then, one of our learnings, where we developed a technical feature and we thought it was exceptionally great. And it was a nice little thing that would save a developer a lot of time. And I think it was earlier in Mayank sessions where he spoke about this whole monetizing it. Again, we were quite bad at sales. So, I asked my developer, well, what's this worth? And he's like, well, I don't know. $3,000, let's just say it was euros, 3,000 euros. Yeah, they'll pay 3,000 euros a year. So we went on and we sold it a couple of times for 3,000 euros. And then we finally, had a serious conversation with the head of customer success for one of our prospects. And he's like, wow, with this feature, I can, monitor and be proactive. And I pay, for every call that my customer call center takes, that cost me 3,000 euros. And then we had this outage a couple of, weeks back, and we were literally offline for 2 days. And they were like, it was a constant peak in calls, and it cost me a fortune. And I was like, oh dear, well, we're charging this product, 3,000. It's worth way, way, way more. So also then focusing on monetizing it and having the right discussions is very, very important. Rapid prototyping and experimentations. I think this is also where my role as an impatient CEO can be very, very valuable. I have a team full of perfectionists, and they want to, perfect every little thing. And they also tend to want to finish something before we get it out to our customers. So we're forcing, experimentation, and we're forcing prototyping, A/B testing, different user groups.
and then looking at the data and making wise decisions based off of those experiments is well, very, very important and very useful. I think the biggest thing which we've also done then, in terms of building the right products, is creating, inside our whole culture, how do we really make sure that there's, a culture of trust, and that, we run experiments, we fail fast, we fail often, but we also then, win many, many times, because we do retros and we work on those continuous improvement, and we make, the actionable items out of those retrospectives, and, try to make changes. And we've, embraced and created a culture where you're very, you're soft on the person and hard on the contents and the task at hand, and how can we, go that extra mile and become great and become even better and better and better, and really having a high performance team instead of just, having great products that our customers don't buy. And the final thing, which goes back to, how we do run our business, user-centric design, but also then focusing on the deeper needs, the customer needs, the pain points and the behaviors, right? Being relevant to your customers, that's hugely important. And how you, by talking to your customers and, potentially then also collecting all that feedback, putting it into the AI models, which Kinshuk mentioned earlier also, making sure that you then, work on feature X because it brings more value than feature Y. And you've checked that with a couple of customers and yay, hey, that's true. Then you have built, I think, a solid organization. And then it's my job to really keep steering on. I read this statistics once that, 76% of all features is seldom or never used, I think. Maybe it was even more, but that's shocking, right? And we tend to need to build new features, but it's my job to just say, hey, let's stop, this is okay. And now we're going to get customer feedback and we're going to monetize it and we're going to sell it a couple of times. And only then are we going to build more features based on that feedback. So that's really how I try to work with my product management team and our customers to build the right products, if you will.
Thank you so much, Camilla. I think I can relate to each and every point while you were bringing that, how you used to do it earlier, and with the best practices that you have learned with shorter loop, without shorter loop, based on the imperfectionist CEO characteristic that you have, and being your entire team, being the perfectionism, the belief in perfectionism. So that's great to know. And thank you so much that you are using the tool, and it is working as a North Star for the team to help you find the right feature prioritization, monetization, and also bringing the team in one place. With that, my question is, what are the common pitfalls that generally business encounter, and how they can avoid or mitigate that?
Well, I think I mentioned it earlier also, but for us, it's definitely this whole, feature function, and thinking that we know everything that the customer wants, and to sell it as a feature instead of selling a solution to a problem. And that's definitely the one most important thing. And then the second one is also this whole, multi-level, that you need to know different personas on different levels, because at least it's my belief that how we used to sell software 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that's not going to happen, right? And I just read a Gartner report where, the trends are that products are going to find themselves and buy from each other without even engaging with a human being. And I'm still trying to get my head around how can this work, that my toothbrush will buy the right toothpaste, but whatever, I'll buy into it. I believe in it. But so then we need to understand also that buying at a customer is also a collaborative exercise. And, every level, at least it's like this here in the Netherlands, everybody's heard and everybody can join in to make a decision. So a developer, he's actually also able to block a sale if he doesn't want to work with my feature, even though the manager is saying this is amazing and I have budget. And, so you need to focus on that multi-level selling and, well, pains and gains then if you look at the product.
Thank you so much, Camilla. We don't have any other question, but we'll just quickly see if audience has any question. Otherwise, we'll move to our next speaker, Archana. Audience, over to you. Any question? Please do write it on the chat, or you can just, unmute yourself and ask Camilla. Okay, while you are thinking, let me get started with the next speaker. Thank you so much, Camilla. It's a pleasure having you, and it's always lovely interacting with you. A lot of insights. Thank you so much. Moving into Archana's section, just give me a minute. Let me know once you see my screen. So Archana comes with almost 2 decades of experience, specialization in delivering strategies, productivity initiatives, and end-to-end project delivery. She has worked with many emerging technologies such as AWS, Azure, Angular, and Java. She has 2 decades of experience in banking and financial services. She worked with both the type of companies spread across in India and also in the US, such as JP Morgan Chase, Infosys, Accenture, FIS, and MassMutual. Strengths in stakeholder collaboration and team building. She has been recognized as an influencer for contribution and ownership in organizational initiatives. She has been a leader speaker on multiple forums, and she has also authored a book called Gratitude Overload as a social responsibility during the pandemic. She had been invited as a motivational leader to inspire and influence schools, nurturing future leaders. Welcome, Archana, to our event, and we are glad to have you. Getting started with the questions that what do you think the top 7 practices or the best practices that modern teams should follow to stay truly agile and customer-centric?
Thank you, Sudiptaa, for the introduction. Greetings to everybody. And I would say so far it has been quite insightful sessions by each and every speaker. A lot to learn from each of you. Before I jump into the topic, I would like to ask one question. Would you like to go with Nokia or Apple iPhone? I want you to reflect on this question and add your comment in the chat box, right? Meanwhile, I'll move forward and then we will reflect back on this question a little later. I would say, staying truly agile and customer-centric involves mindset and implementing practices that revolve around customer needs, customer flexibility, and continuous improvements, right? And when we talk about these things, right, reflecting back on the question that I've asked, Nokia or iPhone, right? So these are the factors which actually influence customer needs, flexibility, and continuous improvements, right? Nokia was once upon a time the giant leader of phones, and iPhone, in fact, emerged later. And if you really look at the initial research, Nokia was the one who has done research on the smartphones. But later, due to some leadership delays in taking actions, it has been seen that the other other trending companies have taken over the technology much fast forward. For example, Apple has taken up the user interface, user experience as one of the key factor, and has developed the product over taking the latest technologies, and has emerged as the best leader. Right. Similarly, Kodak, if you've seen the example of Kodak, even today, when somebody takes the best picture, we still call it a Kodak moment, right? That is how Kodak has influenced our lives. And when we look, where does Kodak stand now? And if I say, do you want Kodak camera or do you want a Sony camera? We would say definitely smart camera, which is Sony, right? And again, if you look at the real research orientation, Kodak was the one who has initially started with digital cameras. But where does it stand now? It has been seen that being technology relevant and staying customer focused are the key factors in any organization or any product development to see success in future. Right. And that's what we have seen with Sony emerging as a leader. So I would say with this, I would like to bring up a point that leadership is key in bringing up awareness about agility and awareness about customer-centric culture, right? And I would like to deep dive a little more into the best practices based on the experiences that I have in my overall work domain so far. So some of the best practices, I would say, and has been covered by almost all the speakers so far, and I would say user-centric design, right? User-centric design involves coming up with developing user persona and journey maps. When we say user persona, understanding the user needs and understanding the user pain points and developing the user persona are key elements. And this helps the product development to lean forward towards the user needs, and again keep on track of the product development based on the user persona. Right, this helps us to stay intact with the user needs. Next best practice is about agile methodology. Embracing agile principles is key. When I say embracing agile principles, this is what I mean. Preferring individual interactions over processes and tools. Preferring working solutions over documentation. Preferring customer collaboration over contract negotiations. And then preferring responding to change over detailed plans. Now, when I talk about this, it clearly shows the distinction on how the product development initially was, which was a waterfall model, to what we see in agile methodologies, right? Stay tuned and stay focused on the agile principles in order to have a successful product development. Okay, let's move to the next slide, Sudiptaa. Thank you. And in the next, I would say, as per my understanding, the next would be the cross-functional collaboration, which is a key. Working in silos doesn't take us anywhere with respect to product development. I think this is something which has been also heavily discussed by other speakers in earlier slides, right? In order to we need to actually foster collaboration between all the functions of the product development, be it product development, marketing, and support teams. And in the similar way, it has to also come in the backward direction, where the support teams as well, which are front-facing the customers, need to give proper feedback back to the product teams so that the product root cause analysis can be done and right decisions can be made based on the analysis of the feedbacks, right? And next, I would say continuous feedback loops. This is the, I would say, heart of the product development, right? Continuous feedback plays a major role, and there are multiple channels through which we can have customer feedbacks, utilizing surveys, user interviews, and real-time analytics. If I remember right, Mr. Kinshuk has demonstrated one example where they had to make a key decision in how to develop a product based on the survey which was sent, and based on the customer. Once, like, the preference of the product development team was something, and then later, based on the customer survey, users surveys, another decision had to be taken in order to ensure we stay tuned to the customer need and not to our own assumptions, right? And this was very good example, so I don't really have to talk much on it. That itself was indeed a great example. And then metrics driven metrics driven decision making is also one of the key one of the key best practices. Key performance indicators, having key performance indicators, and analyzing the metrics based on the key performance indicators and taking informed decisions is again one of the key attributes and one of the best practice towards successful product development, I would say. Let's move to the next. Okay, yeah, can we go back to the earlier slide, Sudiptaa? Yeah. So in addition to this, I would also like to add a couple of other best practices, which I would say, like, in agile environment, it is key to empower the product teams, empower the teams, and as well develop trust within the team members. When we empower the teams have the capability to discuss openly some ideas, and this would bring innovative ideas. Also, creating a culture of experimentation and risk-taking to a certain extent will be helpful. The reason being, this kind of environment, in fact, develops innovation, and innovation is key to the product development. Staying relevant with technology, and in fact updating the product teams, product owner or the business owner with the latest trends is really important, so that sometimes the bigger picture is not known about how the market trends are. So this kind of research and innovation will help in building a strong, robust, and also market relevant, technology relevant solutions, right? This is, and in addition, I would say that the teams should also, and also the product development teams should also discuss on which areas can we in fact leverage AI tools. So talking about AI tools, I would like to flow to the next slide. So I wouldn't deep dive into these slides. It is pretty clear. Here we are talking about how leveraging AI tools has in fact impacted positively on efficiency gains and productivity, adding value, and then also, like, helping developers deliver products faster using the AI-based tools, etc. So it's very relevant, and this is this data is being pulled from a very reliable source, and I would say it is from LinkedIn that I've taken, and yeah, it's a trustworthy information. Can we move to the next slide, Sudiptaa?
Yes.
Now, AI is not something which is new, as other speakers have also spoken. It's been existing for some time, and I would say, like, AI has taken much significance, has brought much significance in today's world, for a reason that a proper and highly evolved ecosystem now exists. Be it AI developer tools, AI apps, models, or infrastructure, these have in fact helped us take decisions on leveraging AI and also building AI specific products as well. The cost has also significantly dropped due to the availability of these technologies and also cloud infrastructures. Yeah. So these are a few things I would say, Sudiptaa, some best practices that I could share with this group.
Thank you so much. I'm just, when you said that the culture is very important, I remember this Peter Drucker's favorite word, culture. It's in breakfast, right? So however the great product we have, or whatever the well-designed strategy or the execution plan we have. But if the team is not really living and breathing in that culture, or they don't passionately believe and doing or taking the culture forward, I don't think anything can really work. So that's why Nokia has been a failure. We all know this. And I just wanted to see what is the poll result that Archana asked, which phone would you like, right? So what's the answer? Pawan, any you would like to share?
Yeah, it's been reflected.
But I felt, Archana, you and Camilla both spoke, I think, three fundamental things. One is definitely the leadership and the culture. The second thing is doing that experimentation, thinking the people to think differently, not just the same traditional way, but, take a step back, really understand what is really important outside in approach by listening to the customer and doing that continuously. I think that's very important. And of course, making leverage of AI technology so that you can be the most productive version of yourself, at the same time using AI to work for good, for product management. That's really, really important. So with that, Pawan, would you like to go ahead, or I will
Yeah,
have one question.
so we're having a poll results with us. Majority of the people have reported Apple as most preferred device, and
Definitely.
20% have responded to Nokia.
Yeah, I see the audience are lovely and they have been interactive. So by responding to the poll, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so I have one question, Archana. Am I echoing? Let me know. Okay. So if you think of, what are the pitfalls, the same question that I asked Camilla, what are the common pitfalls based on the BFSI domain that you work? And also, what is the cultural differences if you want to talk the East and the West? And what are the mitigation strategies that we should be developing or deploying in a product culture or in a modern product team?
Coming to the pitfalls, I would say the first and foremost, being in the technical teams, we usually get more. I think Kamala also spoke about this point, and I totally echo with it. We sometimes get into the technical aspects, complexities much, and then get off track from what customer actually needs. So one that is time consuming. Two, that is doesn't meet customer needs, and it would be surprising towards the end when we know that okay, this is not what we really needed, and we had to rework on the whole thing. So that is one thing. So we need to, what is the mitigation plan for that? I think staying close to what we spoke about, customer persona and customer needs, is something which is really important. At the same time, not get into too much of technical aspects. That is something that I have seen in my own organizations. This was one of the pitfall. And the second thing is, when we talk about product development, it would be incremental, right? So we have to ensure when we pick up in a particular sprint, what are the features that we want to deliver. So we shouldn't be overcommitting. The product owner or the business owner definitely wants everything on priority, because that's how they envision the product in a big picture. But it is highly important on, once we prioritize few, we have to stick to the scope, and we should not be overcommitting, because it will be highly taxing on the team, and it will end up counterproductive. And sometimes over planning as well is counterproductive. So this is another pitfall, as I see. So in order to overcome this pitfall, what I would recommend is, just follow the best practices. If you follow the best practices, you wouldn't see the pitfalls, right? So stick to the agile methodologies, stick to the agile ceremonies, which will help you stay tuned and on track with what has been planned for that particular sprint, or for the particular overall product incremental release. And if you ask for 3, the other one, I would say again, stay relevant to the technology. Ignoring continuous improvements is something which can end up as a pitfall. The reason is, like, as I said, Kodak or Sony, right? Again, staying relevant with technology, not just understanding our own product. It's also important to understand how the market is right now, what are the technologies emerging in the market, and also how are the competitors outside. That is very important. Understanding our competitors is also very important, because at the end of the once we release the product, right, it shouldn't be a surprise to us that we are on an obsolete technology. So it's important that we upgrade ourselves. Our team stays also technically upgraded, and also stay relevant with market research and what the competitors are also doing. So these are a few that I can think of, Sudiptaa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Archana. I think I made a note: overcommitting, over planning, not looking at the customer feedback, and of course, making sure that the development and things are in sync. So yeah, thank you so much for all the lovely insights. If there are any other questions for Archana, please do type it in. I will now move to the next section. Let me get into the next section that's coming up from Wes Bush. Just a little bit intro about Wes Bush. Wes Bush is the CEO of Product-Led Growth, and this particular video he has recorded for the entire Shorter Loop event for their audience to watch out. So it's right there on our YouTube channel. Here is the YouTube link, and you will also find that on the chat that we will post it now, so that you can see and watch it. But there are very crucial and I would say more important things for the product-led growth. Let's hear him out. A few of this sneak peek from the video, and then rest of it you can watch it. It's a good 20-minute remote workshop with all the whiteboarding that he has done to help us understand better the subject. And please do visit the website productled.com, where he has created a few more tutorials for SaaS companies, SaaS product owners to understand and how to deploy this in their daily lives. So let's hear it out.
Same thing, but then, hello everybody. I'm so excited to be sharing today the modern way to scale a SaaS business. This is going to be a really fun workshop. We got about 20-25 minutes together where we're going to go through what this looks like for your specific business and how you can really scale a lot faster the product-led way. So I am super excited to dig into this with you today. But before we do, let me just ask you a quick question. So when it comes to running your business, are you tired of the more traditional approach to scaling a SaaS business where you are basically hand-holding customers a lot when it comes to helping them get value out of your product, or also when it comes to upgrading or hopping on sales calls just so that they can actually understand what the heck your product does? So the main way of growing a sales-led business is typically through hiring more sales reps, and it's very expensive. But what I'm going to be doing today is going through how you can really approach growing the product-led way. And one thing before we dig into this is you're not alone. Like, if that's you, where you're tired of the traditional approach of scaling, what's really going to be great about this presentation is you're going to learn, like, this isn't just you. And on average, 3 out of every 4 B2B buyers actually prefers to buy or try before they buy. So this is going to be really applicable to scaling the modern way, selling to the modern consumer. However, when it comes to this, there is actually quite a few challenges that we're going to dig into.
Also
so the first,
here,
I focused on the profit. I just
you can
did
see
this.
that
I just took on a lot of different deals,
but
but I didn't have the effortless customers. I had a ton of different kinds of customers. It was very hard to scale, and it was frustrating. It didn't work out. And then year 2 of the business, I focused more on who are the customers I actually love serving. That's another thing. It's not always just who do you serve best. It's the people you love and are best at serving. So you already know them. And then the third thing is like, well, what is the way we can actually serve them best with the most leverage? What does that look like? And so that's really the third stage, is really looking through your product and how can you create that epic value. So synergy is all these three things. And most businesses, before they kind of roll out the red carpet for being product led, they forget that there's a lot that goes on here in order to do that. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is this concept of how you sell is just as important as what you sell. So this one took me a while to learn, but then every time I keep reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. You get to go through our sales process. And then the third process here is, okay, great, you monetize them, then we're going to engage and give you value. So that's kind of the third step. So when it comes to the product-led kind of style, it really looks like this. So we want to acquire people, same thing, but then the second step is all about engage. Engage people, provide value first, and then it's about monetization. So I'll share an example of what this looks like. Two different stories. So I was recently signing up for this application called chess.com. And maybe you've used it. It's a great product-led experience. So I signed up for the free account. I played, I think it was like 5+ games. It was amazing. They were super competitive chess games. And then after I played, I decided, you know what, I want some of the more advanced tips because I'm losing. And I paid. So that's a really great example. A sales-led example, I was recently looking for some data on companies that were acquired by private equity. So I signed up for or requested a free trial from this company called PitchBook. And so they had me, the acquisition process looked good, but then I had to hop on a sales call. I had to go through this lengthy kind of demo to just understand the product. I actually never ended up doing this step, and then they never got me to value. So that's an example of a sales-led experience. Think about it for yourself. It's probably not too different. So when it comes back to the model we're working on, just because I want more people to really see success.
So guys, do watch out. Here are some quick glimpse from the thing. I believe that all of us will get some time to retrospect or reflect on this. But I think these are super important points when it comes to moving from the traditional strategy and doing the product-led strategy to get growth. For every SaaS company who are willing to change the product management game, this is clearly for yours. Okay, so moving on, we are now coming to the closure. So I will ask Kinshuk. Kinshuk, please go ahead and say, for the lovely audience, I really would like to thank each and every one of you being with us. And of course, I believe that you found something useful or you learned something new. Do let us know what you learned from the webinar. What are the topics that you really would like to hear from us so that we can keep sharing with you all these details. And now I give it to Kinshuk for this session.
Thank you, Sudiptaa. I just wanted to echo her thoughts. Thank you so much for spending these 2 hours for us. I hope you got some new insights that you can immediately start using in your work starting tomorrow. At least that's the hope. And feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on YouTube, wherever that you feel that you use, the social media that you use. And thank you very much once again. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. And yes, we do have some exciting news coming in the new year. You got that right. End of Jan or Feb, we'll come up with a little bit more buzz about some exciting enhancements that we are developing based on all the lovely feedback that we have heard across the globe. So thanks again for pouring your feedback, believing and doing the customer game right, and having that included in the product management game. That's the very, very important step. So yes, as per customers' suggestion and the different product owners that we have met in the last few months, we have prioritized a few things on our product development roadmap, and you would see some of this very soon. So stay with us. As Kinshuk said, do see our different channels, of course LinkedIn, but then there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube. There are many customer testimonials if you would, and do check the different review places like G2, Product Hunt, if you have heard of, and many other places that where we are. And please keep sharing your feedback. And as we said already, that the particular product is for your instant evaluation. So do share your feedback on that. With that, we are signing off as a team. And if you have any questions, or please do share, and please do copy some of the slides that you have already written for your learning or for your future retrospection. Do share it on social media with those hashtags. Thank you so much. Yes, and we will meet you maybe in next few weeks or so. Take care and have a lovely evening or a lovely morning or afternoon that you have.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Best wishes.
Yes, thanks to all our speakers, Camilla, Mayank, Archana, Shubha. I think it's a lovely, insightful, and I personally took some of the notes, and I really believe that I would be using that. So yes, some of the AI tools that you have shared, some of the key pitfalls, how do we mitigate that? And Kinshuk also talked about the very important, what are the challenges and how good AI for product management can deliver. And I completely, buy that. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Great audience, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.